Hi, this is Riyan from Must Be Noob. In this lab guide, we are going to install and configure a DNS server role in newly installed Windows Server 2022. The DNS translates the domain names to the IP addresses so that the web browsers can access the internet resources. Every device connected with the internet has a unique IP address. The devices use these IP addresses of other devices to exchange information. The DNS servers discard the requirement of remembering such complicated numbers, for example 192.168.1.1. Let's press Ctrl-Alt-Delete key combination to sign into Windows Server 2022. Type the administrator account password and press Enter key. The system logs on the administrator user account and the Server Manager console appears automatically. You need to assign static IP address on your server before you start installation of DNS service. As you can see, I have assigned the IP address 192.168.96.11 to this server. Let's click on Dashboard. In the first place, from the Server Manager, click on Add Rules and Features. The Before You Begin tab contains some important informations. Click Next on that pop-up. Now select the type of installation. In this case, we will use the role of feature-based installation. Please select the server where the DNS server will be installed. It will be on our local server. Click Next after that. Check the box in front of DNS server. Additional features required with DNS service. Click the Add Features button and click Next. In the Features tab, the basic features for this DNS server role are already selected. Click Next on this. The next window is again an informational slide about DNS server. Read and click Next on it. Click the Install button to start the installation. After finishing the installation process, click the Close button. After DNS server installation, you can access the DNS Server Manager from Server Manager or from Administrator Tools options in Windows program. On Server Manager console, I'm going to click on Tools and choose DNS. This will open DNS Manager window. Let me expand it. Please right click on the name of your server. In our case, it is going to be Server 1. And then select Configure a DNS server. The DNS server configuration wizard will be displayed immediately. Press Next to continue. Now it is time to select the optimal option for the zone to be used on the server. If you are using small networks, then I recommend creating a forward lookup zone only. And here we can see that. If you want to create forward and reverse lookup zone, that time you need to select the second radio button, and that I'm going to select. Let's click Next. On this page, we can see information about the forward lookup zone, that a forward lookup zone translates DNS names to IP addresses and network services. And this is an essential function for most of DNS servers. So here we are going with yes, create a forward lookup zone now, and that is recommended. Click Next. Here select the zone type. In our case, it is going to be primary zone, which creates a copy of a DNS zone that can be updated directly from this server. Click Next. Assign the zone name. In my case, I have assigned mustbenoob.com zone name. Click Next. A new zone file for mustbenoob.com zone is going to be created. Name mustbenoob.com.dns under system32/DNS directory. Click Next. Select the zone update type. In this case, by default, do not allow dynamic update option is already selected. Click Next. Now it is asking us about the reverse lookup zone that already we have created forward lookup zone. Now it's time to create reverse lookup zone, and that it is asking here. Suppose if you don't want to create reverse lookup zone now, that time you can select the second radio button. No, don't create reverse lookup zone now. But we are going with the first one, which is yes, we want to create reverse lookup zone right now. Click next. It is also going to be the primary DNS zone type. Click next. You can see information about the reverse lookup zone, that a reverse lookup zone translates the IP addresses into DNS names, which is also known as the FQDN. So select the type of reverse lookup zone. We are not using IP version 6 in this lab environment, and that's why we are going with IP version 4 reverse lookup zone type. Click next. Enter the network ID as per the IP address which we have assigned to this local server. The first 3 octet of you can see a network ID of our server is 192.168.96. Click next. It is also going to create new zone file in a system32 DNS folder. Click next. Dynamic update will be not allowed dynamic updates. So remember, we can only use secure dynamic updates with Active Directory. So if you have installed Active Directory on the same server where you are installing and configuring DNS server, that time you can select the first checkbox. Otherwise, that option will be grayed out to you. Click next. At this time, if you want to configure DNS forwarder, you can specify the IP address of other DNS server, or you can say the IP address of ISP's DNS server here. But at this moment, I'm not going to do that since this machine is not connected with the internet. If you haven't configured forwarder on your DNS server, that time DNS is going to use root hints for external queries. And that's why it is searching for the updated information about the root hints server. Since this computer is not connected with internet, after waiting for a few minutes, you will have a next option. Okay, here we can see completing the configure a DNS server wizard. So we have successfully configured DNS service on our server named server1. And the for lookup zone which we have created is mustbenoob.com. As well as we have also created a reverse lookup zone. So let's finish this wizard by clicking on this finish button. We can see the one error that the configure a DNS server wizard could not configure root hints. Why? Because this computer is not connected with internet right now. Click OK. Let me expand for lookup zones, and here we can see the zone which we have created named mustbenoob.com. And similarly, under reverse lookup zone names, you can find the reverse lookup zone which we have created. Okay? Great. You have successfully created the for lookup zone and a reverse lookup zone. Now, to set up this zone, you have to complete another task. You need to add DNS records. There are multiple DNS records like host record, pointer record, MX record, startup authority records, and name server records. In this lab guide, we are going to create host and pointer record. Let me click on mustbenoob.com. This is our for lookup zone name. Let's right click on the for lookup zone. You would wish to add a host record there. Let's right click there, and from the menu, select new host. See, you have that option A and 4 times A for IP version 4 record and 4 times A for IP version 6 record. In the name field, enter the name. In our case, it is going to be server1. Now, once you type server1 in name field, you can see the fully qualified domain name will populated automatically with the name server1.r for lookup zone name, which is mustbenoob.com in our case. And then after, we need to specify the server's IP address, which is 192.168.96.11 in our case. So this means the FQDN server1.mustbenoob.com is pointing toward the IP address 192.168.96.11. If you have also created reverse lookup zone, you can select the checkbox in front of create associated pointer record to create PTR record as well, and that we also want to do. So let's select the checkbox, create associated pointer record, which will create a record for 192.168.96.11 IP address, which is pointing to the FQDN server1.mustbenoob.com. Let's see that. Let's click on add host. We'll see the confirmation message that the host record server1.mustbenoob.com was successfully created. Click OK and click on Done. Let's refresh it. Here we can see the host record server1 and the data, or we can see the associated IP address to that FQDN is 192.168.96.11. Let me click on the reverse lookup zone as well, and let's right click here and select refresh. Here we can see the associated pointer record that this IP address 192.168.96.11 is pointing to the data, or you can see the FQDN server1.mustbenoob.com. So that's the end of this lab guide on how to install and configure DNS service on newly installed Windows Server 2022. See you all in the next lab guide. Stay tuned for more videos like this.